The wind howled across the broken land, carrying dust, ash, and the heavy smell of war. Captain Dax stood alone on the cracked metal floor of an old alien base. His hands were raised. His shirt was torn, blood ran down his arm, but his eyes? Calm, focused, unafraid. A few steps away, an alien woman stood with her plasma gun aimed right at his head. Her name was Riza. Her skin was silver blue. Her armor was damaged and dirty. But her eyes burned with rage. She had waited days to catch this human, and now finally he stood in front of her. No backup, no weapon, no escape. You killed them, Riza growled, voice shaking. My squad, my people. You humans destroyed everything. Dax didn't blink. You sure it was us? Don't play games, she hissed. Her finger hovered over the trigger. Any last words, human? He smirked, calm, cold, dangerous. Yeah, he said, tilting his head. Safety's on. Click. Riza's eyes widened. Her weapon didn't fire. The trigger was locked. Her thumb instinctively touched the side of the gun, and yes, the safety switch was still on. In that split second of confusion, smoke exploded from Dax's boots. A thick gray cloud swallowed them both. Coughing, Riza stepped back, firing blindly. But it was too late. When the smoke cleared, the human was gone. All that remained was the echo of his footsteps and a trail of blood. She chased him through the ruins, gun ready, eyes sharp. The war between humans and her kind had burned across dozens of planets. Riza had lost friends, family, even her twin brother. She had promised herself if she ever saw a human again, she would not hesitate. But this one was different. He didn't kill her when he had the chance. He didn't run like a coward. And he didn't beg. She followed the blood trail into an old reactor hall. The lights flickered. Pipes hissed steam. The air was hot, dry, and full of metal dust. Then she saw more blood, but it was blue dot alien blood. Her own kind. She froze. What was happening? She reached for her wristband and played back her suit scans. The data confused her. No signs of human tech near the explosion site. Instead, traces of syndicate energy. But the syndicate was neutral. They weren't supposed to interfere unless someone had lied. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the shadows. You still think I killed your people? Dax asked. She turned fast, gun raised. There he was standing near a broken control panel, his wound wrapped in cloth, his weapon still holstered. You used smoke to run, Riza spat. Coward. I used smoke to live, he replied. Big difference. She stepped closer. Why didn't you kill me? Why didn't you? He shot back. Silenced. Only the machines hummed. You were told I destroyed your outpost, he said. But I didn't. I was there, trying to help. Lies, Riza said, though her voice was weaker now. Dax slowly reached into his pouch and tossed her a small metal drive. It slid across the floor and stopped near her boots. What's this? She asked. Footage, he said. From your own defense system. Shows what really happened. She picked it up, never lowering her gun. And why would you risk coming back here? He smiled sadly. Because someone needs to know the truth. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the building. They both ducked. Sparks rained from above. Pipes burst. Screams came from outside. Alien voices. Riza looked at him sharply. Did you call for help? No, he said, confused. Did you? A moment later, a drone flew past the hallway. Its markings weren't human. They weren't hers either. They were syndicate. Dax cursed. They're here to clean up. No witnesses, but why? Because you're starting to ask the wrong questions. Riza didn't want to believe him. She had trained all her life to hate humans, but now she was the one being hunted. And the only one not pointing a weapon at her was him. Dax looked at her. No lies. No tricks. If you want to live, he said, follow me. She hesitated. Then nodded. For the first time in her life. She trusted a human. The first thing Riza noticed was the color of the blood blue. Not red. It splattered across the wall like paint. Thick. Cold. And definitely not human. She had been chasing Dax through the reactor tunnels, ready to end him. But now she stood frozen, staring at the blood trail. It wasn't his. It belonged to one of her own. Impossible, she whispered, eyes narrowing. But the body lying in the shadows said otherwise. It was a fellow soldier from her command. His throat was slashed clean. No burns, no gunfire. A silent kill, and beside him, on the ground, was a syndicate tag. Her hand shook slightly as she picked it up. Syndicate operatives never worked on the front lines. They weren't supposed to touch wars. They were observers, recorders, peacekeepers. So why was one here? And why was he dead? Suddenly, her helmet's crackled. Unknown signal detected. Initiating scan. Warning. Falsified human signature detected. Origin. Syndicate tech. Her heart dropped. They faked it. Every human signal, every enemy location, they had been planted by syndicate interference. She wasn't hunting humans. She was being used. She turned, gun shaking in her hand, unsure of anything anymore. And then he appeared. Dax, calm as ever, limping slightly from his wound. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't run. He just looked at her with quiet eyes. Told you, he said softly. She didn't speak. Not yet. Instead, she pointed to the body behind her. He was mine. I knew him. Dax stepped forward, slow. He didn't die by human hands. And you expect me to believe you? She hissed. I don't care if you believe me, he said. But look around. The war isn't what you think. Riza looked down at her boots. Blood clung to her armor. So much blood. For what? You know, she said after a pause, I was raised to believe humans were monsters. Same, Dax said. That made her look up. I lost my daughter on Valen 3. He continued. Syndicate said it was your people, your bombs. Your fault. She blinked. But we were told humans fired first. Dax smiled sadly. Then maybe we were both lied to. They moved together now, uneasy allies, deeper into the base. The further they went, the more bodies they found, alien and human alike. All killed by syndicate weapons. Some were even implanted with false combat chips, making them look like hostile targets. It was all fake. The war, the hatred, the orders, a carefully built lie. Why? Riza finally asked. Why would the syndicate want war? Dax looked at a broken camera on the wall. Because war sells better than peace, he said. Weapons, control, fear. Keeps everyone distracted, keeps them in power. And us? She asked. Just tools. They reached the old command room. Inside, flickering monitors still played battle footage. Riza stepped closer and hit rewind. Frame by frame, she saw its syndicate ships bombing her colony, then planting false human ID signals afterward. She dropped her gun. All this time, she was hunting ghosts. Suddenly, a blaster bolt hit the wall behind her. They ducked. Voices echoed in the hallway. Syndicate mercs fully armed, sweeping the base. They're cleaning up, Dax said. Anyone who knows the truth. Riza looked down at her fallen teammate's body. Then we make them pay. Dax nodded, but not here. We need to survive first. They slipped out the back tunnels, crawling through vents, broken pipes, and collapsed walls. Riza's hands were cut. Her knees bruised. But she didn't stop. Not anymore. Hours later, under a burnt sky, they rested in a collapsed shipyard. Dax lit a small fire. Riza stared at the flames. You saved me back there, she said quietly. You let me live earlier, he replied. She chuckled bitterly. That was a mistake. He raised a brow. Still think I'm your enemy? She didn't answer right away. Then she looked up. Your blood, it's red, right? Dax held up his cut hand. Still is. She nodded slowly. Then why does it feel like mine's turning red too? He smiled, because maybe you're finally starting to see clearly. Riza woke to the sound of static. Her eyes snapped open. The campfire had died to embers. Dax was gone, and her wrist communicator? It was glowing, flashing a red signal she hadn't seen since her academy days. Code black. Execution order. Target. Riza Kalthar. High priority. Terminate on sight. She stared at the screen, frozen. Her name. Her ID. Her face. Her own people had marked her for death. Heavy boots approached from behind. She turned fast. Gun drawn. But it was only Dax holding a ration bar and a smirk. Relax, he said. Not poisoned. She didn't smile. She held up her wrist unit. He looked at the code. Then looked at her. They really put a kill order on you, he said softly. She nodded. For what? For not pulling a trigger? No, Dax said, sitting beside her. For thinking. Riza ate in silence, hands shaking slightly. She had followed orders her entire life. Born in a war camp. Trained since childhood. Loyalty wasn't just expected, it was programmed into her. And yet now, she was the traitor. What if they were right to erase me? She said quietly. Dax shook his head. Then why did they lie to you first? That shut her up. They traveled across the scorched valley toward a communication outpost Dax had scouted before. There, he believed they could access a deep-level syndicate archive and pull more files, proof of the war's true origin. But someone was already there. Snipers. Three of them. Syndicate. Cloaked. Riza saw the shimmer just in time and shoved Dax down. A plasma bolt burned the air above his head. They rolled behind a boulder. Dax pulled his sidearm and took a breath. I thought you were the one with enemies, he joked. They don't care who dies as long as it stays quiet. She replied grimly. The fight was fast, brutal, and silent. Riza moved like a ghost, her training kicking in. One sniper went down with a knife to the throat. Another was pulled from a ridge by Dax's rope trap. The third ran until Riza shot him through the back. She didn't look away as the body dropped. I trained with him, she said, her voice hollow. We ate from the same bowl. Dax didn't say anything. He simply placed a hand on her shoulder. She didn't shake it off. Inside the outpost, they found more than they expected. The syndicate database was partially unlocked, sloppy work from whoever used it last. Dax moved to the console and tapped in his bypass codes. Riza stood guard, but her eyes kept drifting to the screen. It was all there. War reports rewritten. Attack footage forged. Even images of her own squad used in training videos. On both sides, Riza's voice broke. They cloned our footage. They used our pain to make propaganda. They wanted both sides to burn, Dax said. So they could sell peace later, profit from chaos. Riza turned, punching the wall so hard her knuckles split. My brother died for this lie. Dax didn't stop typing, then helped me end it. Suddenly, a new alert popped up. Encrypted. Channel, incoming transmission location. Imperial Command, Ralvan Fleet message. If you're reading this. She's turned. End her, no mercy. It wasn't from the Syndicate. It was from Riza's High Command. She stared at the screen. Her own general. Her own crest. I never even questioned them, she whispered. They count on that, Dax said. That's how control works. She looked at him, eyes dark and sharp now. Then it's time to break it. They downloaded everything. Names, documents, command orders. All the ugly secrets the Syndicate and Riza's own leaders had buried. The truth was heavier than any weapon. We get this to the outer colonies, Dax said. We can end the war. Blow this wide open. And after that? Riza asked. They'll still come for us. She nodded. Let them. I'm done running. As they left the outpost, Riza didn't wear her uniform anymore. She dropped her command badge into the fire. She wasn't a soldier. Now she was a rebel. And she had nothing left to lose. Riza woke to the sound of static. Her eyes snapped open. The campfire had died to embers. Dax was gone, and her wrist communicator? It was glowing, flashing a red signal she hadn't seen since her academy days. Code black. Execution order. Target, Riza Calther. High priority. Terminate on sight. She stared at the screen, frozen. Her name, her ID, her face, her own people, had marked her for death. Heavy boots approached from behind. She turned fast, gun drawn, but it was only Dax holding a ration bar and a smirk. "Relax," he said, "not poisoned." She didn't smile. She held up her wrist unit. He looked at the code, then looked at her. "They really put a kill order on you," he said softly. She nodded. "For what? For not pulling a trigger?" "No," Dax said, sitting beside her. "For thinking." Riza ate in silence, hands shaking slightly. She had followed orders her entire life. Born in a war camp. Trained since childhood. Loyalty wasn't just expected, it was programmed into her. And yet now, she was the traitor. What if they were right to erase me? She said quietly. Dax shook his head. Then why did they lie to you first? That shut her up. They traveled across the scorched valley toward a communication outpost Dax had scouted before. There, he believed they could access a deep-level syndicate archive and pull more files proof of the war's true origin. But someone was already there. Snipers. Three of them, syndicate, cloaked. Riza saw the shimmer just in time and shoved Dax down. A plasma bolt burned the air above his head. They rolled behind a boulder. Dax pulled his sidearm and took a breath. "I thought you were the one with enemies," he joked. "They don't care who dies as long as it stays quiet." She replied grimly. The fight was fast, brutal, and silent. Riza moved like a ghost, her training kicking in. One sniper went down with a knife to the throat. Another was pulled from a ridge by Dax's rope trap. The third ran until Riza shot him through the back. She didn't look away as the body dropped. "I trained with him," she said, her voice hollow. "We ate from the same bowl." Dax didn't say anything. He simply placed a hand on her shoulder. She didn't shake it off. Inside the outpost, they found more than they expected. The syndicate database was partially unlocked, sloppy work from whoever used it last. Dax moved to the console and tapped in his bypass codes. Riza stood guard, but her eyes kept drifting to the screen. It was all there. War reports rewritten. Attack footage forged. Even images of her own squad used in training videos. On both sides, Riza's voice broke. "They cloned our footage. They used our pain to make propaganda. They wanted both sides to burn," Dax said, "so they could sell peace later, profit from chaos." Riza turned, punching the wall so hard her knuckles split. "My brother died for this lie." Dax didn't stop typing. "Then help me end it." Suddenly, a new alert popped up. Encrypted. Channel, incoming transmission location. Imperial Command, Ralvan Fleet message. If you're reading this. She's turned. End her, no mercy. It wasn't from the syndicate. It was from Riza's high command. She stared at the screen. Her own general. Her own crest. "I never even questioned them," she whispered. "They count on that," Dax said. "That's how control works." She looked at him, eyes dark and sharp now. "Then it's time to break it." They downloaded everything. Names, documents, command orders. All the ugly secrets the syndicate and Riza's own leaders had buried. The truth was heavier than any weapon. "We get this to the outer colonies," Dax said. "We can end the war. Blow this wide open." "And after that?" Riza asked. "They'll still come for us." She nodded. "Let them. I'm done running." As they left the outpost, Riza didn't wear her uniform anymore. She dropped her command badge into the fire. She wasn't a soldier now. She was a rebel, and she had nothing left to lose. The galaxy didn't explode when the truth went live. No firestorms, no falling ships, no sudden peace. But something more dangerous happened. Silence. Deep, cold, spreading silence. From the Syndicate command rooms to the alien war academies, screens flickered with the same message, uploaded by unknown source, Laura's rest outpost. Warning, all combat orders compromised. Begin internal review immediately. And just like that, the first domino fell. Dax opened his eyes slowly. Pain throbbed through his leg, but he was still breathing. Still alive. He tried to sit up and winced. Riza appeared at his side, kneeling, holding a bowl of gray soup. "Don't move," she said. "You'll break the stitches." "Didn't know you could cook," he muttered. She handed him the bowl. "I didn't. Tana did. She said if it kills you, she wants your boots." He smiled. "Charming woman." Riza didn't smile. Not yet. Instead, she looked out the shattered window of the shuttle. "We bought time," she said. "Not peace." Tana barged in moments later, waving a cracked datapad. "They're coming," she hissed. "Not just bounty hunters. Not just Syndicate." "Who then?" Dax asked. "Everyone." Riza stepped forward. "You said we bought time." "We did," Tana said. "Enough time to make enemies on all sides." She tossed the pad on the floor. On it were images wanted posters. Dax and Riza's faces. Different languages. Different planets, same reward. "Dead or alive," Tana said. "Preferably dead." Dax tried to stand. Riza caught him. He looked her dead in the eyes. "If they kill us now," he said, "we become martyrs." "I'd rather live than be a statue," she replied. He smiled. "Then we make one last move." Their plan wasn't complicated, but it was insane. The data spike they used for the upload still had traces of the Syndicate's mainframe codes. If they could reach the Echo Core, hidden data vault on a dead moon, they could bury a final command deep inside the Syndicate. Network. One that no one could erase. A permanent record of the truth. Something that would outlive both of them. Ship they used was barely holding together. Dax named it. Last word. Riza rolled her eyes. Always so dramatic. But when she stepped into the pilot seat, her hands didn't shake. They flew quiet through empty space, avoiding signals, evading trackers, watching shadows the closer. They got to the moon, the quieter Dax became. He stared at the stars, remembering his daughter. She wanted to be a writer. He said softly. Riza didn't interrupt. She said if she couldn't stop war, she'd write about it, so no one would forget. Riza finally whispered, "She would have been proud of you." He looked at her. "Would your brother be proud?" "Of you?" She hesitated. "I don't know, but I'm proud of me now." They landed on the dead moon under black skies. The Echo Core was buried beneath ancient tech, sealed behind puzzles and defenses built to keep out even Syndicate themselves. They had one shot. Riza moved through the ruins like a whisper. Dax stayed behind, setting up the uplink. Inside the vault, blue light shimmered from a floating orb. Riza slid the spike into the core. The room pulsed. The truth would now live forever. Dax's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Upload in. Progress 20%, then static." "Dax," she asked. "Do you copy?" Silence. Then gunfire. She raced back to the surface boots, skidding across metal. He was down, bleeding again. But alive. Syndicate soldiers circled them, not many. Just enough to finish the job. Riza grabbed a blaster. Dax raised his pistol. Back to back. They stood. "No more hiding. No more running." "Upload at 90%, Dax whispered. "Then we just have to live a little longer," she said. The fight wasn't clean. It wasn't noble. It was rage and fire and broken armor. Riza fought like a storm. Dax fought like a ghost. By the time the last soldier fell, they were both barely standing. Tana's voice finally came through their coms. "Upload complete, Riza." collapsed beside Dax, bloody and shaking. "It's done," she whispered. "No," he said, breathing hard. "Now it begins." The man at the bar finished his drink and laid 3 silver credits on the counter. Then he held up a worn bounty flyer, tapped it twice, and said, "Seen these two?" The bartender didn't blink, just slowly nodded toward the back table. The bounty hunter turned and froze. Riza was already behind him, blade pressed gently to his neck. Dax sat in the booth nearby, one leg wrapped in bandages, calmly sipping cheap liquor. "We're off duty today," Dax said, "so maybe don't try to collect." The bounty hunter didn't move. Smart choice. 3 minutes later, the man was unconscious in a dumpster behind the bar. Riza wiped her blade and joined Dax again. "This is the 3rd one this week." She sighed. "4th, Dax corrected. "You forgot the guy on New Oran." She sat beside him. "I didn't forget. I just didn't count amateurs." They didn't laugh. Not anymore. The price on their heads had doubled since the Echo Corps broadcast. Every world they stepped on was another risk. But the truth was out there now. People were beginning to ask questions. Some stopped fighting. Some started fighting back. But for Riza and Dax, they were still ghosts in the system, hunted, bleeding, tired. Tana had set up a safe house in the outer rim, a place carved into the belly of an abandoned freighter, floating just outside legal space. She greeted them with sarcasm, a limp, and a hug that ended too quickly. "You're late," she muttered. "We were busy making friends," Dax replied. "Your kind of friends usually end up in pieces," she grinned. Riza ignored the banter. "Do you have it?" Tana nodded and handed over a pulse drive. "Inside's a direct access key to the Syndicate's deep archive," she said. "Use it right, and you'll erase the last 10 years of cover-ups." "Use it wrong?" Dax asked. "You fry every server and alert the whole sector." "Great," Riza muttered. "Another suicide mission." That night, Riza stood alone on the observation deck of the freighter. Stars glittered like fireflies on ice. She pressed a hand to her side, still sore from the last fight. Her body bore scars now. Her face had changed too. Harder eyes. Slower breath. She no longer looked like a soldier. She looked human. Dax joined her, leaning on his crutch. "We're not gonna make it out of this, are we?" she asked. "Probably not," he said. They both stared at the stars. "Then why keep going?" She whispered. "Because someone's watching," he said. "Someone scared. Someone alone. Someone ready to do the right thing, but only if they know they're not the first." Riza turned to him. "You still think we're heroes?" "No," he said. "But we're the story that might inspire one." Hours later, the freighter shook. An alert blared across the room. "Warning. Syndicate signature detected. Interceptors inbound." "Ada, 7 minutes." Tana cursed and grabbed her gear. "They found us." Riza and Dax didn't waste time. They grabbed the pulse drive, burned the coordinates of their next target into a scout ship, and jumped into the cockpit. "Where to?" Riza asked, firing up the engines. Dax looked over the map. "Syndicate Archive Node 13. Deep in the Ghost Belt." She blinked. "That place is a death trap." "Good," he said. "Let's give them something to fear." They escaped just as lasers burned through the freighter. Tana stayed behind. Her last message came through static. "Buy me a drink, next time." If there's a next time. Then the line went dead. Riza sat in the cockpit in silence. She knew it would end like that, she said. Dax nodded. We all did. They drifted in stealth mode for days, dodging beacons and scanning for heat trails. Their ship creaked. Power ran low. Food was worse. Riza fixed the engine with her bare hands. Dax covered the walls and scribbled maps in old war reports. They slept in shifts. Dreams came less often now, but when they did, Riza dreamed of peace. And Dax? He dreamed of his daughter. Alive, somewhere, writing stories about people like them. They finally reached. No -13. It wasn't guarded, which was worse. Too easy, Riza said. Dax loaded the pulse drive. Or a trap. They entered the archive anyway, two broken heroes. With nothing left to lose. Because even if they were wanted, even if they were wounded, they still had one last move. The room was circular, silent, cold, and full of ghosts. Riza stood in the center, staring at a familiar symbol etched into the floor, her people's war crest. But this wasn't a command room, it was a tomb. Dozens of old command chips lined the walls, memories of soldiers like her, now erased from history. Forgotten by the Syndicate. Deleted to protect lies. Behind her, Dax inserted the pulse drive into the core terminal. Once I hit send, he said, we don't get to run anymore. Riza didn't look back. Good, I'm tired of running. The moment the upload began, alarms lit up across the room. Red lights, sirens, target locks, Syndicate A. I had detected them, but it was too late. Across the galaxy, screens blinked awake again. More files poured into public networks, battle plans, secret orders, betrayal after betrayal. People watching on 100 worlds gasped. Then the power surged. And a door behind them hissed open. Two soldiers entered. One was tall and armored in Golda Special Execution Unit. The other was a woman with silver hair and dead eyes. Riza's old commander. Riza Kalthar, the woman said. You shame your name. No, Riza said, stepping forward. I cleaned it. The Golden soldier raised his rifle. Dax moved to block, but Riza pushed him back. Stay out of this, she said. This is mine. She stepped into the open. No shield, no tricks, just fire in her blood. Her former commander pointed a gun at her chest. Any last words? She sneered. Riza didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled. Yeah, she said quietly. Safety's on. Click. The commander blinked. The trigger didn't move. The gun was locked. Riza moved like lightning, disarmed her, flipped her, pinned her down. Everything you taught me, Riza said, breathing hard. I used to break you. Meanwhile, Dax fought the gold-armored brute. It was ugly. Every punch echoed. Every hit broke something. But Dax fought like a man with nothing left to fear. He grabbed a broken pipe and rammed it into the brute's knee. The soldiers screamed and fell. Dax limped over. Bleeding again, but smiling. Bet they didn't train you for old-school pain, he muttered. With both enemies down, Riza and Dax stood together. Bruised, bleeding, breathing. The upload finished with a soft tone. Across the galaxy, the truth had been buried too deep to erase now. They had won. Not with armies, not with bombs, but with proof, with courage, with each other. As they limped out of the archive, Riza glanced back. The gun her commander used still lay on the floor. She picked it up, turned it in her hand, stared at the trigger, then tossed it into the fire. Dax raised an eyebrow. No souvenirs? She looked at him. I don't need weapons anymore. They stole a quiet ship from a scrapyard and flew off the map. No beacons. No names. Just stars. For weeks, they didn't speak about the war. Instead, they watched strange sunsets on silent moons, fixed old engines, laughed at bad food, argued about music, rested. Healed. And somewhere between one sunrise and the next, Riza placed her hand gently in Dax's. He didn't pull away. In the years that followed, the war began to fade. New leaders rose. Truth was no longer a secret. Statues were built not of Riza or Dax, but of the people they inspired, the rebels, the peacemakers, the ordinary souls who chose truth over silence. No one ever found Riza and Dax again. But sometimes, in quiet ports, stories were whispered. About a silver-skinned woman and a tired human man who changed everything. Together.